Hi, Dr. Justine here again. This video is to help talk to you a little bit more about what's actually in PM Recovery Collagen and how each individual ingredient can contribute to better sleep or better recovery and why they're in there. I'm also going to touch really briefly on what's not in there, because when we were making the product, pretty much the reason we made the product is because I was trying to find something to help me sleep better that actually didn't have melatonin, didn't have CBD, and didn't have any sedatives. And I was having a really hard time finding something that wasn't just, an individual ingredient like magnesium on its own or L-theanine on its own. And so ultimately that's what led me to putting them all together and us to launching Thirdzy. Because I used to wake up not feeling like I had slept at all in the morning. I never really had trouble with the falling asleep part. That was always pretty easy for me, but my energy levels throughout the day sucked, and I would wake up in the morning really not feeling rested at all. And it's funny because at first I didn't even think I had a sleep issue. I actually thought maybe I had some sort of hormone problem or an autoimmune condition, or that there was something else that was wrong with me. And once I started tracking my sleep, I realized that my sleep quality was really poor. And once I started supplementing to feed my sleep and fuel better sleep processes, a lot of those other problems that I was having went away. And I realized that I didn't have a hormone problem. I definitely didn't have an autoimmune condition. It was actually that I was just not sleeping well enough, and my brain couldn't wind down at night, and it couldn't really get into that deep sleep, REM sleep, strong sleep spindle cycles that it was supposed to be doing every single night. And so every single day I was less rested and less recovered than I was supposed to be. So let's dive in. There are 5 key ingredients in our PM Recovery Collagen, whether you're buying it in Canada or in the US. They're very, very slightly different, and they are ultimately going to be the same. The only difference really between our Canadian and our US product is a little bit the flavor, and the other thing is that the American product actually has a little bit more tryptophan in it. And part of that has to do with the fact that Health Canada actually caps out the per serving amount of tryptophan at 220 milligrams, even though there's actually no clinically relevant reason to do that. And nearly all the studies that have looked at tryptophan and its benefits for sleep and its benefits for relaxation have shown it dosed in higher amounts. So what we did when we were putting the product together was we wanted to include ingredients that we knew were well supported in the literature for being helpful for sleep quality. And we also wanted it to be in the amounts that the literature actually showed was helpful. Imagine that. Because the other thing is sometimes you'll pick up a supplement and it's called, I think it's called pixie dusting, where you'll look and there'll be like a million things in it, but they're in such small amounts that it's never actually going to do very much for you. So we've also put a meaningful amount of each one of the ingredients in every single serving of the product so that people actually get the benefits that they're supposed to get from using it. So the basis and the thing that makes up the bulk of the product is the collagen, and every single scoop of PM Recovery Collagen has 10 grams of collagen peptides in it. They're hydrolyzed, which means that they're broken down, and that's really important because it actually makes it easier for your body to absorb them. It also means you don't have to worry about adding heat to the product, and that's an interesting thing. Some of our people do actually like to do it with warm water, and because it's not full protein, it's actually the collagen peptides, you don't really have to worry that adding heat to it's going to cause it to denature because it's hydrolyzed for you already, and that's actually better for absorption anyways. So the 10 grams of collagen are great for actually helping to rebuild connective tissue, like the tissue around your muscles, the tissue in your joints, and the tissue in your hair, skin, and nails, if that's something that's important for you. The other thing about collagen is that collagen is about 30% glycine, and glycine is an amino acid that has actually been shown to help to lower core body temperature. So when you take that before bed, it will actually help lower your core body temperature and help you to get into a deeper sleep earlier on in the night, which is exactly what you want. You're supposed to have lots of deep sleep when you first fall asleep at night, and then you actually shift to having more REM sleep later on in your sleep cycles, or in the early morning before you wake up. That's when you do most of your REM sleep or your dreaming. So that covers the collagen piece. The other things the next thing that's in the product, which I talked about in a previous video, is magnesium. Magnesium is, it's ubiquitous in your body. You use it for so many different things. I think there's 267 different enzymatic reactions in your body that rely on magnesium, including ones that even help you use some of your other vitamins and minerals more efficiently. In fact, you can't convert vitamin D to a usable form without sufficient magnesium. You can't use calcium properly without without sufficient magnesium. And the magnesium also helps with modulating muscle contraction and neuron firing, which helps with the actual proper regulation of the rhythms of your heart. So for people who are using a sleep tracker, for instance, who are finding that their heart rate is always really elevated, maybe even when it shouldn't be, they may actually be magnesium deficient. Arrhythmias in the heart is actually a sign of like significant magnesium deficiency. And it's interesting that also restless sleep and sleeplessness are correlated with magnesium deficiency, because there are a lot of pathways, including your GABA production, your serotonin production, your melatonin production, all use magnesium. So these like high level hormonal controls are also dependent on these other nutrients that we need to get enough of, and a key one is magnesium. And so we often do hear magnesium being referred to as something that helps you to relax and calm down, and that's because it helps to counteract a lot of the excitatory things that go on in the body. So a lot of the other electrolytes that we get, like calcium, potassium, are excitatory, and the magnesium is actually, to balance that out, it's relaxatory. So after magnesium, we have tryptophan, which I touched on briefly because that's the difference between the two products. Tryptophan is an amino acid as well. It's found in turkey. You've probably heard of it as being the thing that helps you to feel more sleepy after you've consumed turkey at Thanksgiving. And tryptophan is a critical building block for your own melatonin production. It's also important for serotonin production, and this is actually an important piece because if you have members who are taking SSRIs, like any serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which tends to be for like mental health things, depression. Most depression medications have some effect on our serotonin pathways. Tryptophan is probably not a good idea for those people. So you may, if you have members that come to you and say, hey, I took this and I felt actually like I was more awake, more alert after, that's because it's actually playing more into their serotonin pathways because they're taking those SSRIs, and it's actually going to have the opposite effect than you want for those people. So that's an important caveat, is that tryptophan in most people will actually make you feel more sleepy, help you to wind down, regulate your melatonin pathways better. But on people with people who are taking other medications, particularly SSRIs, tryptophan might not be a great idea for them, and this might not be a good use case for those members. After tryptophan, the other amino acid that is in this is called L-theanine. And L-theanine is really cool. You may have actually seen it in other places. They actually put it in energy drinks because it takes the edge off of stimulants. And part of the reason why a lot of people have trouble winding down at night is because they're overstimulated, right? They've been drinking coffee all day, taking pre-workout, eating lots of sugar, doing things to keep themselves up and alert and their energy levels high. And then they get to the end of the day and they can't wind down. And L-theanine will actually counteract stimulants and help to increase the neurochemistry that you need in order to de-stimulate your system and to wind down at night. It helps to support your GABA production, which is your primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, or the thing that kind of pumps the brakes on all of the excitatory stuff that's going on. And it also helps to increase, the L-theanine helps to increase alpha waves in the brain, which are the same waves that your brain makes during REM sleep and when you're meditating. So it really does have this effect on the architecture of your brain chemistry to help create this like more calm and zen-like state. L-theanine taken during the day, studies have shown that it's actually really great for balancing or counteracting anxiety, and can actually stand toe-to-toe with some anxiety medications in terms of helping to counteract those processes. Obviously, we cannot say that this helps to cure or alleviate anxiety, but we can say that, L-theanine is something that's been shown to help people when they are anxious to feel less that way. So the last thing that's in it is GABA. So we put the GABA in there as, to even further double down on this pathway of neurochemistry that helps people to relax. There have been some studies that have shown that people who have insomnia and who have sleep disruptions throughout the night often are low in the amount of GABA that they produce relative to people who have really good sleep architecture. We also know that our body, when we're more stressed, when our cortisol is higher, when our hormone environment isn't optimized, we're going to produce less GABA over time. And so helping to augment that, give people a little bit more of their calm neurochemistry is going to help with their transition to sleep. It's going to help them to maintain better sleep cycles and get better quality sleep through the whole course of the night. The other things that I should point out with all of the ingredients that are in this is they have a relatively short half-life, which means you're not going to wake up in the morning still feeling the effects in terms of feeling sedated, feeling groggy. You'll never feel sedated from this because there are no sedatives in it. It purely has ingredients that are meant to help to support your natural processes for winding down and for sleeping really well. And that's something that is lacking in the sleep discussion in a lot of places, where if you're taking medication for sleep, it's certainly going to sedate your body. It's going to knock you out, but you're not going to get good quality sleep. And again, melatonin and CBD, those are more natural solutions for helping people sleep better, but they're really more geared towards, again, just falling asleep and not maintaining good and proper sleep architecture or the sleep processes that are critical for actually being healthy and waking up feeling good and your body being recovered the next day.